In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I went from this to this, using 4 essential lettering principles. Stay tuned. Hey, so my name's Alana. I'm a freelance lettering artist and designer based in Brooklyn, New York, where I run my business, AGF Design Studio. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. We're not gonna waste any time today, so let's get right into the video. Principle number 1, hierarchy. What is hierarchy? Well, in this context of lettering and typography, hierarchy can be thought of as whatever words are given the most or least amount of emphasis, thus changing your overall visual communication of your piece. So let me show you my process for reestablishing my hierarchy for the new piece. So in the beginning of your lettering piece, for example, you can write out the words that you're going to be lettering, like I have, and then you just sort of put a little check mark or like an X next to the words that you think are important and that you'd want to make larger, and leave unchecked or unmarked the words that you are just sort of de-emphasizing in your piece. So for example, in my first piece, I checked off all of the words that seem to have emphasis. It's a lot of them. But for the new piece, I only chose 4 words to emphasize. It gives a greater chance of balance. It gives me also an idea of how to establish my composition. So, whoop, now here we go into the next principle. Lettering principle number 2. It's sort of a slash. Guides/composition. So, why do I say guide/composition? Because they sort of go hand in hand. Once you have your letters or your words checked, the ones that you want to emphasize or de-emphasize, then you can go into your thumbnail sketching phase where you're going to start drawing things out. Keeping in mind your emphasized words, you can start just scribbling out on the page. It literally is not going to look fancy. Mine always looks super rough and not polished in the beginning. Totally normal and okay. So this will help us establish some compositional ideas, ways to stack our letters and the words, and you can start experimenting with styles as early as this as well. Okay, guides. So where does the guides portion come into this? I have other videos on guides and how to use them in your lettering to establish foundation and structure for your lettering pieces. So I'm going to be putting a little card above and putting links in the description box below if you'd like to watch those. But basically, once I have my thumbnail sketch chosen, I'm going to scale it up on my canvas and I'm going to draw out my guides. So you can see, I just take them, overlay them on top of the wording, and sometimes I'll tone down the opacity so it's just like not clashing so much when I'm redrawing over top. But yeah, think of it as like virtual tracing paper, essentially. Guides are your friend. Use the guides. Lettering principle number 3. I'm gonna do something fun every single time. Let's try that. Lettering principle number 3, consistency. So remember when I was yammering about guides before and how it sort of helps give your word structure? That's true. That's one way of establishing consistency. Another way is to make sure that all your letter forms are treated with consistent treatment. So what do I mean by that? In my first piece, if you look, you'll see that the weights of the words are sort of all over the place. The stresses on the thicknesses of the letters are not in the correct places in some spots. Some serifs are very thin spots, some are very thick in spots, and you'll just see a bunch of visual inconsistencies, and it looks very confusing in terms of the type treatment. So I keep this in mind when I'm doing my refined sketch phase. And sometimes visual inconsistencies are part of communicating. You could use that to make it look fun and wonky and all this stuff. But for me, I wanted to make sure that all of my cursive letters had similar, downstroke pressures and upstroke pressures. So the thicks were the same amount of thick and the thins were the same amount of thin, and that my sans serif letters all were the same weight as well. So what's a tip that you can do to make sure that your letters are consistent? Well, thankfully, in digital drawing, it's very simple. You can just duplicate letters. That's literally what I do. I rarely, if I see repeating letters or phrases, I will literally just duplicate the entire word or the letter and move it over to whatever part of the piece that I need. And that is a nice hot tip for you from a professional lettering artist. Lettering principle number 4. Probably my favorite part. Details. Once you have your letters drawn the way you like, the consistency is nice, and you're like, cool, I've got it. Now let's add some pizzazz. Detail time. So for me, I like to do things like add drop shadows. I like to do illustrations where I can. As you can see, I went illustration crazy in the final piece. You can put whatever pizzazz you like. I like to do texture as well. So a lot of my work will feature noise overlays because I just use like a clipping mask. So yeah, those are the 4 principles that I employed to improve this lettering piece. This was so fun. Going through an old piece, it was kind of like cringy, of course, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is old and I don't like it. But it was so nice revisiting a piece with all the skills and things that I know now. And yeah, I'm super excited to see what you guys create. Let me know if you end up recreating one of your old pieces or use any of the tips that you learned in this video. Feel free to reach out to me at Alana_flowers on Instagram. I'm pretty much that everywhere on my social media, but I also have all my socials linked below. Let me know if you have any questions, leave a comment. And now, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and while you're there, hit the little notification bell too. I post new videos every single week. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.